Hey, welcome to Manalizing. This is where men talk about the kind of stuff that men don't talk about. Put your hard hat on, get ready for a ride. Here we go. Hey, welcome to Manalizing. In this episode, I'm talking to Jason Christiansen. Jason and I go back a number of years. He's a lender. I have been a home inspector and more recently a structural inspector. And for that reason, he and I being in the same sector, being real estate, we've done a lot of videos together on real estate related topics, especially lending. That's how I know him best. Jason is a good man. He is the kind of person that we all want to be around. He makes everybody feel good about themselves when he is in the room. He's that sort of guy. But Jason has his darkness too, just like the rest of us. And I've watched him as he's managed that darkness over the years. He's going to talk a little bit about that in this episode. Here we go. Welcome to Manalizing, where men talk about what men don't talk about. Speaking of men, we've got a man here, Jason Christiansen. Yeah. I've considered you to be a man's man since forever, and what I have learned is that regardless of how much you think a guy's got it all figured out, there's demons in the dungeon.
Always. There's always a story.
And I definitely don't want to do the dungeon yet because I don't want to make this just about darkness. I want to have people get to know you. Okay. I wish they could get to know you like I do. That's not going to happen in an hour. You and I met quite a while ago. I was needing somebody to do realtor CE training. Yeah. I think I called James Roberts first. Yep. And he says, call Jason. And I'm like, Jason? I don't know who Jason is. And so I called you, and you said, I'm in. And I'm like, okay, now what do I do?
Yeah.
And we have done a lot of training since then. We have probably, what do you think, maybe 40 hours of it?
Well, one of the classes is 12 hours. So yeah. That on its own. We have a 3-hour, if not 3-hour. Yeah, so 20 easy.
And yet, despite the fact that we've done all that training, we go back however many years we do, probably 10 more? I have no idea what you're going to talk about today.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
So, and I'll ask you, as always, to be as vulnerable as you choose to be. And if you don't want to go somewhere, then don't go there. Okay. The training or the input that I didn't give you before we started this is that vulnerability is awesome because whatever your issues are, there's 10 million men out there who share that. And if they hear you talking about it, they go, oh, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
And maybe you've got answers that they haven't figured out yet. It's kind of what the tribes are for too. So, but that's me kind of shading towards the dungeon. I don't want to do that, despite the fact that that's all I'm talking about right now.
It's kind of the good stuff. What's down deep, right?
Yeah. What do you do? What are you passionate about?
I like that question. What do you do? So the thing I do best is run amok with my kids.
Run amok.
That's my favorite. Actually, you should look that up sometime. It's like an Eastern term where someone's possessed by the tiger spirit and they get a sword and they kill everybody. Often ends with suicide. But if they were truly running amok, there's nothing you do about it because they were possessed by the tiger spirit. Anyway, it's come to mean something different in a modern culture. But just run around with my kids, and I wear it proudly. And people question me a little bit, but I am the worst influence in my sons' lives. And you'd think, oh, what a horrible father. But my sons are so good that so my oldest boy, when he wanted to take his motorcycle over 100 miles an hour, he's like, Dad, I want to do this thing. Let's do it. I was like, let's do it. It's like my other boy's like, hey, I want to watch a questionable movie. And Gladiator. it.
Yeah,
I wanna
not
watch
that
this."
questionable.
And I was like, let's do it. Let's like, if you're going to do something that you're worried about, like you talk to me first and I'll let you know. Let's do it. But like my oldest boy, he had a girlfriend for a year and a half before he went on his mission. He never kissed her because her father said, I don't want you to kiss anyone before she turned 18. So he did not. He refused.
Oh, wow.
That's the type of boys I'm dealing with. You
That's
know?
a good kid. I was told that too. Let's just say I didn't follow the advice.
Yeah. I was physically threatened by one of my girlfriend's fathers, and I laughed at him. So they got the obedient good stuff from their mom.
I would love to go down that road, man. Do you feel like you being their devil's advocate, how did that serve them?
Okay, let's dive into a little bit of the crazy stuff. So this is interesting. It's really important. It's really important that men and women are men and women. It's very important. And we're like the opposite sides of a magnet.
Okay.
We do things that are attractive to the other, and we do things that support them, and we can really have a strong connection and bind them. And a lot of these things, and I know this is controversial to some, and so whatever, but like one of women's greatest assets is beauty. They breathe it, they breed it, they create it, they bring it. They make a man, you get a man, and like it's a joke, like this is the bachelor pad and there's a mattress on the floor and a TV on the wall and a gaming console.
Sounds like heaven to me.
What else do you need?
Yeah.
Like I'm single right now. My mattress is on a wooden platform. I have a filing cabinet as one nightstand. I have a kitchen table as my desk. I have a bookshelf and a TV dinner tray thing as my other nightstand, right? It holds my books. I like to read. That's all I need, right? And part of me says, like, when a woman comes into my life, she can pick. I don't care. Make it beautiful. That's good. But like, you go to a bachelorette's house, and that's so cute, right? And so they bring together. So my children's mom is very appropriate, too appropriate. So
too appropriate. I don't want to stop you, but we need to go back to too appropriate. So keep going.
No, that's the thing. So when talking to children, I think it's really important to call body parts what they are.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, some of the body parts names were too vulgar for their mom, right? And so
Penis.
vagina didn't exist. It's not in our vocabulary. It's the bum and the bum. Just like, no, that doesn't work for my little girls. Anyway, but so my boys started seeing girls and they were cute. Their mom had really aversion to like, well, that you don't want to objectify them. You don't want to, so it's their personality. And so I came in with my boys and said, does she have nice boobs? What about her butt? And like this, like, Dad, you can't say that. And I sat my son down. I said, listen, you need to find her attractive, and she needs you to find her attractive.
Mm-hmm.
She will want, and like, great, you're in high school now. You probably shouldn't be exploring this too much. But even then, she wants to know that she's pretty, and there's parts of her that make her pretty. Now, granted, it's just like a flower. You look at it, it's beautiful to have the bloom. You need the stem, you need the leaves, and you got to have the roots. The roots are vital. And the roots, you don't dig them out and show them to the neighbors, right? Like, you need to know that the girl's beautiful, and you need to want to see her naked body. But that's a special time that only happens every once in a while for very, very, very specific people, right? Mm-hmm. But the deeper the relationship gets, the more intimately you are together, the more intimately she needs to know that you like her. And so I taught my boys, especially, that it's okay to like a pretty girl. And there's parts that should be pretty, and she needs to know that anyway. So that's something. And yeah, women want to be beautiful. Men want a beautiful woman. And tastes and preferences are different, and that's fantastic.
Okay. How did that serve them?
Well, they were able to appreciate women for all that they were. Because just like you want to be desired by your wife,
right?
Your wife wants to be desired by you. So in the appropriate levels, they could go, like my oldest son now talks about how beautiful his girlfriend is. Mm-hmm. She loves it, right? And they need to know that that's okay. right? They need to know that there is physical attraction, and to keep it in the right space.
Makes sense. So the way it benefits them is now they are able to notice out loud, which the woman appreciates, that she's beautiful.
Right. And communicate it appropriately,
Got it. Let's go down that road again. This is fun. What other ways have you been the evil dad or the devil dad?
Huh. So here's something that we really struggle with in Western culture, is the initiation of manhood.
Okay.
So I showed you a picture of my second oldest son before we came down here, and
he's a beast.
Protein Prophecies on Instagram. That's him. He's working out. He wants to crush my records, and one of the reasons why is, so I believe in initiation. I believe that men need to know that they're men.
Crush your records. I got to stop you on crush your records. Do you have records?
Some. I can't remember my weightlifting records very well. Not as well as my second oldest son is going after him.
Mm-hmm.
But he's coming up on my bench. Like, granted, I wasn't huge, but I like to work out, So, like 265 bench. For a 165-pound kid, that was decent, right? So he's going after that. He weighs about 165, but he got into the martial arts and everything. So right now he's working on trying to beat me in an arm wrestle, which I hope he does. But this came down to when my oldest son who's 12. We got him a job painting lines on the soccer fields, and he was mad at me. And he had the striper in the back, and he said, "I'm going to crush you, Dad. One day I'm going to crush you." And I was like, "You are?" I kind of believe like the whole lion thing, right? Where like the young lion comes up and kills or drives the old lion out, and now he's the king, right? And I want my sons, and they will know when they can beat me. And anyway, so my oldest son says, "I'm going to crush you." And I said, "You've initiated a ritual, and this is sacred." So I'm really excited because one day I do want you to be able to beat me up. I want you to be able to take me down. Like, you'll need to know you're a man, and that will be a great way to say it. And so, like, we can fight here on the asphalt, or we can go to the grass. You pick. I mean, you initiated. You can call the shots. And he's like, "No, Dad, no." And it actually was really interesting because rather than me confronting him and saying, "You should respect your elders," I was like, "Yes, you should have this anger, and you should, like, do it. He was like, "No, Dad, no." So I was like, "All right." So I helped him get the striper out, and we got on the grass, and I said, "Begin." And he's like, "No." And so I was like, "You got to lock up." Got his hand, put my hand on his neck, put his hand on my neck, and get your pressure on the shoulder, kind of a really basic wrestling thing. I said, "Okay, now you got to shoot in or, strike. What are you going to do? How are you going to take me down? I mean, if you're going to crush me, you got to be on top of me. You got to." Anyway, so we went for a little while and tossed him around a little bit, and it was good because he had anger and he could process it. But his younger brother, who had just was wrapping up gymnastics and getting into kung fu and just practice punching, was like, "Dad, can I try?" And I was like, "Absolutely." The problem is like it was like 65 and 55-pound kids, right? And so my youngest son, he just comes at me. He's like, "Can I hit you hard?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Can I hit you as hard as I can?" I was like, "Absolutely." And so he just starts wailing on me. I was like, "You're doing so good." And he's like, "I'm not even hurting you." And then he got pissed. And that is like part of the fuel, right?
Right.
It's driven him where he is now. So.
Yeah, and seeing that picture, yeah, that guy wins. That's some muscle. That's what I heard is, there's always somebody with more than what you got.
Yeah.
But I think your son probably has more muscle in his arm.
He's doing pretty good. But I want my boys to know, you've earned it. You're here. You deserve to be here. I think the imposter syndrome is common among high-level performers, right? Where they think I'm a fraud, I'm an imposter, I shouldn't be here. If people knew who I was, they wouldn't respect me, they wouldn't use me for business, right? I want my boys to know that they deserve to be where they're at. right? That they earned it.
How does letting them hit you or try to beat you up or whatever, how does that help them get there?
So the physical initiation. So like, I'm their father,
Uh-huh.
and I'm decently fit, right?
Right.
And so there's a standard there. Like every boy has a level of respect for his father until the father loses it, right? And so I am, by nature of the family order, I'm the man.
Right.
And if they can overpower me, then they can be a man too. And so spirituality, I hit him that physically, I hit him that emotionally, I hit him there. Their mental faculties, thought process, I hit them there. So they know, like, do you know God? Like, what are you doing? So my oldest boy is serving an LDS mission right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when he decided he was going to go, like, I told him, you're not ready. He's like, I want to go, Dad. And I was like, why? Why do you want to go? And he's like, it's time. You know, other people are going. My friends are going. And I was like, so what? Like, how often are you reading the scriptures? How often do you go approach a stranger and say, let me tell you about God?
Uh-huh.
Like, oh my goodness, Jesus saved me. Like, he changed my life. Like, is this really what you want? Like, or is this what you think everybody wants of you? Right.
Right.
And so he got going and he got his papers in, and in that moment he earned it, right? Because he decided he's going to do it against my will.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I changed and said, okay, you're going. You've initiated it. Let's do this.
Right.
You know, and so now he's out. I talked to him today, which is weird. Talk to him almost every week on video chat, you know, over in Sweden. And like, what are you doing? Who are you talking to? Why are you talking to him? Right? What you working on? How's your companionship? How's your prayer? Are you talking to God? Are you following it? Like, this is your shot. You got 2 years and that's it. And then when it's gone, it's so gone. So don't let any bit of this moment pass, you know, like go give your all. You're going to make mistakes. You know, you should be here. If you make a decision and go here, it's way better than over here. And any decision is better than no decision. So go do it. You know.
Yeah, my dad was none of those things for me. His version of support was to send me a typed letter. I don't know why he typed it. Maybe he figured he could do it faster.
Maybe so you could read it.
Maybe. Back in the day when it was a typewriter.
Yeah.
And he had none of that advice. And I did an LDS mission too. And for me, much of it was a matter of slogging it out.
Yeah.
I had companions that were hard. And it would have been helpful to have a dad or any figure who was like, you're here. Are you staying with why you chose? You know, do you know your why, first off? And second off, are you still in alignment with your why?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get that.
And allow your why to develop, because it should change. That's something I've learned recently. Mm-hmm. Come up with a why. You know, why do you want to do it? Who cares? Try it. See if it works for you.
Mm-hmm.
See if you still want to do it. See if your why still works. Maybe change your why. You know, why do you show up to work? Why do you something? You often find deeper meanings. Like you show up to the doctor. You're overweight. He says you got to run or you'll die.
Uh-huh.
And so you hate it, and you go and you run and you run and you run because you don't want to die. After a while, you slim down. People start saying, "Hey, you're looking pretty good." So you still hate running, but you go run because not necessarily because you don't want to die, but because
somebody said something that motivated
you. Look good. That's all right. And then after a while of running, you realize, holy crap, the endorphins, it feels great, and it's a way to process my emotions and my feelings. And I love being in nature and breathing. And oh my goodness, look at my body. Look at what my body can do.
Uh-huh.
And that's how hopefully we progress. That is how you get to heaven, is when you realize that the things you need to do, you love to do.
Well said. That's some powerful stuff right there. You know, and for me, I'm thinking this is just my beliefs, expectations, is that, you know, heaven is about doing heaven stuff, serving.
Yeah.
And if that's not what you want to do, if you're going to be me and try and slog it out, then that's probably not where you want to be. And so you're not going to choose that place.
I have theories on heaven. I kind of think and theories because they're theories, and I'd love for someone to debate this with me. But one of my theories is heaven is the same place. Like everybody will end up in heaven.
Oh.
And will be serving people. And will you enjoy it? Because if you don't, you'll be in hell. And you'll be doing the exact same thing as people in heaven.
Oh, yeah. You mentioned that in the job, for example. Your job as a loan guy.
Yeah.
You could do that and love it or hate it.
Yeah. Yeah, some days both. Right?
Let's ask you that question. What is the best and worst part of your job?
People.
Yeah. Give me a story.
So the thing I've realized I can control is, did I do the best I could to provide the best service I could? And sometimes, like yesterday, and followed up with this morning, I talked to people out of getting a mortgage. It's an interesting situation. They've got plenty of money in the bank. For me to do their loan, I need to dig into their corporations and their business and a few of their trusts. I told them, like, this is going to be invasive. If you have millions in the bank and you're looking at buying a $327,000 property, just buy it. They're retired. They don't need a wealth portfolio. They don't need to start investing in real estate. And really, like, maybe they need the write-off. Maybe that the mortgage interest could generate, but they don't need the money. So I said, this is your choice. This the implications of buying it. And so they wanted to help out a younger woman they know get a start with credit and a place to stay. And so I said, this is what it will take to get the mortgage. This is what I'll require. Or you can buy it yourself, and we can set up a lease option, rent to own, something with the girl you want to help. So helping them out, telling them not to get a mortgage when that's how I get paid.
So I don't imagine you get a lot of money for telling people not to use you.
No. Yeah, well, then I called them to this morning and said, I just want to make sure you guys are getting this set up right. Because if you're going to buy an investment property, they went from, we're going to co-sign with this girl, we're going to rent to her, maybe. It was a smarter move because a lot of people have been a little disillusioned of what mortgages are doing right now because everybody's used to the 2s and 3s rates and not the 6s and 7s. And
yeah.
Will it cash flow? Is it a good investment? And like, granted, if they wanted to buy this and just give her a house, they plenty of money to do that. But I want to make sure that they understood what they were getting into. So the frustrating thing is I have other clients I've worked with and helped and said, hey, this is what you want to do. This is maybe what you should consider rather than buying a home, maybe start a real estate portfolio, and this is how to do it. So they submitted an offer today and they said, we're going to go with a different lender. I'm like, the reason you have this scenario is because I coached you on how to get it. I've set up the whole process. It's like when people go to the shoe store to get fitted for the running shoe, figure out which one it is, and then go online and buy it for $20 less.
Yeah, then go buy it on Amazon.
And I understand the appeal, but there's no way you would know what was the perfect shoe without the guy that showed you. Oh, there it is. And so
right.
After a while of buying it on Amazon and not buying it from the local shoe guy, you'll just be buying hit and miss on Amazon. So.
Well, yeah. Then the shoe guy goes and gets a job at the grocery store, and then you can't get knowledge from shoe guy anymore.
Yep. So that's like, I love helping people, and the thing that makes it so I can sleep at night is like, did I do my best to help them regardless of what happened?
Yeah. Well, the upside of that, and I can see how that would totally piss you off and make you want to throw bricks through their windows. On the other side of the coin, now you're the expert. And if they didn't use you, maybe they'll refer 10 of their closest friends to you.
So it all comes back, you know? So.
Yeah. So you've been divorced for what, about 5-8 years now?
7. We're just coming up. Separated for over 7. The divorce being final is 6 in a bunch of months.
Yeah. That was easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was a hard part of that?
Not fighting. So, oh man, I wish I would have fought a little more. Wish I would have stood up for myself a little bit more. But my biggest thing was in divorce, the only people that win are the lawyers.
Always.
And so I settled for a lot less than I could have. So we didn't end up in court.
Okay, yeah, I was going to ask you what version of not fighting resulted in you being poorly served. Is that it?
Yeah, just the way things. Her lawyer was a bulldog, and I got one. Sometimes I wonder if I would have done better on my own.
Yeah.
But division of equity and ownership of stuff. So one of the fun things was she's keeping everything that's in the house. It has no value. We can't assign it a value, and so she's gonna have the marital home, and you get another place, right? You can get your furniture because the stuff in the home has no value. And I wish I would have said, if it has no value, I would like to take everything in the home.
Uh-huh.
So what I did say is, so she can have the stuff in the home, I'll have the stuff in the garage. And I did clean out the garage. Like, without a home, I took the hedge trimmer and I'd left the lawnmower, but no, I didn't take the hedge trimmer. What did I take? I took some stuff that like I had no use for because like I had nothing. I got the mattress out of the guest bedroom and a bunk bed. And I did take the nicer bunk bed. I used to sell furniture. But I was like, I don't have a place. I'm going to be moving a few times. I get the nicer bunk bed. But yeah, it's stuff like that where we can go to the theory a little bit later, but like, yeah, it's just, I took good care of the mother of my children. Like so much so that once I got done, one of my buddies said, "That's great. I'm glad you took care of the kids when they're going to be with their mom, but what are they going to do with them when they're with their dad?" And I was like, "Oh, shoot. Well, they can come chill with me in my friend's basement, one bedroom that he kicked his daughter out of, so I had a place to live." You know?
Yeah.
We did that for a bit.
Yeah, been there, done that. One bedroom place, there was a trampoline outside, and that was about all there was to do. There was a 13-inch TV.
Yeah. So, I mean, going back, I really wouldn't change that much. There's a few things in my marriage, like I would do differently now. I wouldn't change the past.
Okay.
But
should we go down that road of things in your marriage you do differently, or should we go down a different road of what it did to you before and after the divorce?
let's talk about things I wish I would have done differently.
Okay.
The biggest thing is I wish I would have been more honest.
Mm-hmm.
And that sounds like I lied a lot.
Uh-huh.
And by like I've been through a lot of therapy, and my therapists are like, I've had several therapists say, "You're the most rigid person I've ever met." I'm like, wow, I don't know what to do with that. But I try and mean what I say and say what I mean.
Uh-huh.
And so I wish I would have told my wife when my heart was dying that I couldn't love her anymore. I didn't enjoy being around her. And I would get home from work and she would say, "Don't tell me about your day.
Oh.
If you have something to say, talk to the tree outside." I would call her during the day. She was a stay-at-home mom.
Uh-huh.
Our kids were in school. I would call her in the day and be like, "Hey," I had set times when I would call. I'd call on my drive to work. I wanted to talk to her. And I would call her sometime after lunch. I would like to talk to her on my way home. Those are the times I like to call. And she would say, "I'm too busy." Too busy with what?
I'm too busy for you.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't have a job. You don't have kids. You're at home alone. Maybe. What are you doing?
Your important is less than the jigsaw puzzle that I'm working on.
Whatever it was. I don't know. I didn't understand that. But yeah, I wish I would have said, "This doesn't work. You know, I need to know what's going on." And like there was things like there are things I did that broke her heart.
Uh-huh.
So like I can kind of understand, like women are emotional creatures and they need to be protected, and I did a horrible job.
Uh-huh.
But I wish I would have said, "I need this." I've been studying masculine and feminine energy lately.
Uh-huh.
Still theories. But I've heard it, the woman is the water and the man is the cup. And the man's job is to defend, protect, and the woman's job is to fill it, give it meaning and purpose, right? Because if you have a cup, that's great. And you have water, that's kind of fantastic, but you really can't hold the water that well. And a cup without water is pointless. But the other thing is when the protected tells the protector, back off, he's doing a crappy job, she's going to do it. The protector, his default was, "I can't fight you, so I will surrender. And I'll surrender, and I'll surrender, and I'll surrender until I have no man left. I'm not protecting anything because I've been told to go home and be quiet, stay in the corner too often." When really, if you're a protector, and this is like the same thing with parenting, right? The kid pitches a fit. He wants donuts for breakfast. You come in and you say, "No, that doesn't work." And you don't beat the kid. You don't demean him, but you say, "This is this is the appropriate thing. Women have a diffuse energy. They're focused on everything, right? All at the same time. And one of the things that broke me as a man is my wife would say, man, I would love this, and I want 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 this. And I would feel like a failure because I could focus on one thing at a time. And like if I chased this, I was running away from this. If I chased that, I was running away from this. And there's no way we could pay off the house and go to Hawaii, and I couldn't be on vacation and earn money. And there's people out there who can maybe. But
I get that. It's like, I want a loaf of bread. So I'm like, okay, I'll get in the Jeep and
go get you a loaf of
go
bread.
get you a loaf of bread.
Right.
And then on the way out, she says, why are you always leaving me?
Exactly. That's a better illustration. And so in times like that, it's the man's job, the masculine energy, and women have masculine energy, men and feminine energy, right? If you're like, I do want all these things. Let's pick down what are the things we want most. Let's prioritize these. And then they can satisfy the feminine, diffuse, creative energy and the man's direct, finishing energy.
I'm still stuck on her basically telling you, don't tell me about your day. That reminds me of the interview I did with Todd Nielsen. Yeah. And that one just hurt me to the core. He's a former cop. Was it Anaheim he worked in? And he was drugs, sex, and trafficking, human trafficking. Okay. So, no big deal during his day. He didn't ever run into anything cool.
Right.
And he would go home after, a hard day where, he shot some people, they bled out, they died, and thankfully he didn't. He tries to tell his wife about it, and she goes, stop, too much, I can't. And so his next best friend was Jack Daniels.
Huh. Yeah. And I know of Jack, never really had a relationship with him, but.
Yeah, he's a good listener.
Yeah, there's something. He takes the pain away and the joy and your money.
For a minute. Didn't work out so well with him being Todd's best friend. And Todd is perhaps the coolest dude in the universe.
Yeah.
Man. But, when your wife goes, don't.
Yeah. And I had stressful days. I mean, I believe that men are paid for stress, not physical labor. You want a job, you can go work. You can go work till your knees fall apart, your hands crumble, and you have arthritis. And you'll make a little better than minimum wage.
Yeah, you make $20-25 an hour.
Right, but if you get paid for solving problems on an emotional level, then that's where you make the money. And so there are times where I was frustrated, and I didn't protect my heart, my wife, the source of my joy. I poisoned her. Like, these are my struggles, and then they're not hers to hold. I'm hers to hold, right? And I could come home and I say, I have a rough day, and she could ask for details if she wanted, right? I could give her pieces, but even in that, like, I needed to protect her. Case in point, my former wife was a nurse, and in part of her getting her license, she had to work in the different areas of the hospital, and she worked in the NICU for a while, which is awesome. Everybody loves babies, right?
Right.
And she'd come home and she'd tell me about this baby dying, and this baby's gonna die, and its family doesn't even visit. And I had to tell her I can't handle it. She has a different capacity to hold stress, and it just broke my heart. And I would just sit there and cry, and I can't hold this. So her saying, "Don't tell me about your day," sounds horrible. But also, like, she couldn't hold it. And if I said, "Man, this morning was rough. Lunch was great, but afternoon something," and I could have done that and maybe protected her a little bit more, and it would have worked better. And those are things, like, if I could do it again, I would do differently.
So that was what you're talking about when you said you wished you were more honest. You wished you were more honest with her when you were melting.
I need this. There's a woman at work that it lights me up. That is happy when she sees me, that when I give her a compliment, she says thank you. And I'm scared because she's pretty. And when I tell her she looks good, she winks at me. And my wife, when I tell you look good, you shut me down. If I give you something to wear, you return it.
All that's rejection. And then the next scenario, we all know where that's going next, is like, who do I want to hang with? The one that hates me or the one that doesn't?
I get home, I say, they don't tell me about your day, doesn't look up from what she's doing, doesn't acknowledge me, versus I show up to work. I show up to the place where they have to pay me to show up. And it's more fun to be there than to be at home with my wife.
Yeah. And of course, every affair is probably as different as people are.
Right. Everybody has their basic human needs that they have to have met. And some people say, well, that's a cop-out. But like, humans need love, just like we need food and air.
Well, you got to eat.
Right. And so, like, my fault. I should have been honest. Mm-hmm. And I could have said at that point, I remember there was one time I was laying in bed and the impression came to me, like, there's been a few times when God, you should do this. And I was like, no. And I was like, she will freak. But at that point, there was a woman that I like to talk to who was pretty at work. And I wish I would have told her then, this is what's going on in my life. She could have said, I will step up, or she should have said, you need to leave. And either one, I would have been like, well, very good. Like, you don't want to be my wife, or you want to be a better wife, and this is your choice, rather than chasing down that road and giving my ex-wife not many options.
Rugged stuff. You must have listened. You told me you listened to my podcast, and it sounds like there are definitely some parallels.
Yeah.
It's rugged. And it is. I feel like it is the role of a man who is drowning to tell somebody that he's drowning.
Yeah, you need to. You're protect, provide, preside, right? Mm-hmm. You show up, you do the work, and you are responsible for when you need help.
And so when you come home and you get shoved to the corner and told to stay there with your nose on the wall, you can do that. Or you can say, look, I'm not okay with this arrangement, and I'm telling you this because I'm going to be watching very carefully what your response is, and what you choose next will very much affect what I choose next.
Yeah.
And until they get those words, we're not blameless.
I think, like, there's so many voices out there that saying, oh, women are equal to men, and women are powerful and they're better. And like, I don't think women understand the power they have in their feminine energy, that they can. I had a friend, love her to death, and she said, she's small, she's like 5'2", 120 pounds, and she said, if I go into a bar, any man in there could take me. Like, hey, do whatever he wants, right? Like, I am in danger. And I said, yes, but if you asked me to go to the bar with you, would I go? Absolutely. Like, would I be there because you want me there? Absolutely. Would I go on my own? No, that's not where I would want to go. But would any man harm you with me there?
Nope.
Most likely not. And then who has the power? Who has the power there? Like, if I was at a bar and some guy dumped a drink on me, I'd be like, whatever. Like, dude, not cool. But I don't want the legal repercussions of doing anything about it. Don't care. If some guy disrespects her, there's going to be a problem.
Yeah, there will be blood.
Right.
I get that. I want to stay with the whole concept of what a woman does to a man. I go back to my interview with Robert Snow where he says, and he was talking about his wife, Charlotte.
Yeah.
He says, you don't realize how much power you have over me.
Yeah.
He was a contractor, and he goes, I can take any amount of abuse from anybody at work all day long. They can throw bricks at me, whatever. They can give me language, whatever. I've got my armor up. When I come home, I want to take my armor off. And if I'm getting abused at home, I got to put my armor back on. I don't want my armor on at home.
Yeah.
And if I do have, he said this so much better than me. He says, if I do have to keep my armor on at home because I'm being abused at home too, then why am I doing this?
Right. You get tired. Like I felt that. You get tired. Like armor's good, armor's great, armor protects you, but it's heavy.
Right.
You know, you can only be the white knight on the horse for so long. You got to get off sometimes. Is there a safe place? You know?
Uh-huh.
That's what men need.
Funny you bring that up. I heard a quote today that I haven't heard from a very long time, is that our women, our daughters included, would rather see us die on the white horse than fall off of it.
Yeah. It's Brene Brown, right?
That's a Brene Brown.
I love that.
I don't remember that being a Brene Brown. I did pretty much all of her books, but I guess I've forgotten that quote.
Yeah, she talks about it in her TED Talk. How convenient that you study women's shame, because men don't have any.
And that's why there's Manalizing. You know, my point has always been women, if they've got a problem, maybe they're considering divorce, maybe it's suicide, maybe they've got a porn problem, maybe their husband has a porn problem, whatever. They can go talk to 30 girlfriends about it.
Yeah, they got chatty places.
Men, nope. Can't talk to your wife. Definitely can't talk to another woman about it.
You can. I'll let you know where that gets you.
And you're not going to go talk to another man.
Yeah. It's hard. Men have their armor up. They're not open places. And then we have our armor up around each other.
And we're not used to taking it off.
No, not.
Take
men
it off.
Safe places.
Take it off for the wife. That's it.
If that.
So that's why we have Manalizing tribes, is places where we can get guys together and we all take the armor off. And man, it's a weird setting.
Yeah, it is vulnerable.
Yeah, that's a better word. So, your hardest moment in your life that you want to talk about?
It was definitely going through divorce, the crucible, right? I learned who I was as a salesperson type thing, because even though I'm just a loan officer, manager, something, I'm really just a salesperson. And learning, is my drive money or is my drive serving, right? That was an interesting lesson. But being full commission, needing to perform while my heart was being ripped out of me, was the hardest time of my life. I remember, so today at work, there's a few girls there who are support staff, and one of them, she's young enough to be my daughter. Anyway, so she calls me Bestie. She's like, "What's up, Bestie?" But right next to her office is another girl, a girl that my partner and I hired years ago to replace me. When I told my partner, I actually told my partner in December, like, I'm out. I'm going on my own. I'm out. And in January, I let my wife know what had been happening, because I'd ended the affair, and thought, if I put this energy into my wife, she'll love me. Like, if I show her the care and compassion I was giving this woman at work, she'll love me. It'll work. And it didn't. And I tried for 4 or 5 months. So the end of January, I told my wife at the time what had happened. I said, "You're free. Now you're free." Which was interesting. I didn't plan on saying that, but gave freedom. And then she chose divorce. And so I broke up with my business partner. I broke up with my wife and moved in with my old partner in a non-sexual way. Uh-huh. But he said, you're moving into my house. Like, my daughter doesn't use her room. It's full of junk. I'll have her clean it out, and that's where you can stay. So that was interesting. So, but I would show up to work, and this girl that me and my old partner had hired to replace my job would look at me and say, "Have you eaten?" No. She'd be like, "How are you doing?" And then she would go get food, and she'd sit down and say, "Eat." Okay. She's married, and I know her husband and everything, but like every once in a while I go over and get a hug. I just love her to death because she was there. She's there. I remember I would be sitting at my desk and not being able to function, and all of a sudden I'd hear this tick, tick, tick. think, what is that? I'd look down and my keyboard would be wet and be like, oh, I'm crying again. Shit. So I'd just get up and leave. I didn't do very well business-wise that year, but that woman was one of the people who saved me. My old business partner who said, you're moving into my basement. So
You ran into a miracle. You ran into somebody who actually saw you, noticed you, cared about you, and it made a difference in her world if you were eating.
yeah. Yeah, there's a favorite video I have, How to Lose Weight in 4 Easy Steps. It's like a Comedy Central skit. I think the first is don't drink. Second is watch your carbs. The third is have your heart broken. And like I would show up to work a couple months into the separation. People start saying, wow, what are you doing? You're looking great. You're dropping weight. What are you working out? You on a diet? Like, yeah, thanks. It's good. Yeah, I'd leave work, go home and cry myself to sleep and wake up and go back to work. That was dinner. That was the hardest time. That was the hardest time.
And here's my golden question. That hardest time, you're afraid of dream time. Or I don't know if I would use the word afraid, but you know that dream time gets unpleasant.
It's interesting. I believe, man, The 5 People You Meet in Heaven. That's a movie.
Oh yeah. Read that one.
Yeah, that's good. Anyway, but my dreams have actually changed. So my ex got married on Friday. It was amazing. I didn't go. I wasn't invited.
Well, thank you.
But
yeah, thank you for not inviting me to that. I would not have been.
It wouldn't have been. And it was good. It was good because my kids had a great time. And I've seen a couple pictures, and she's happy, and her husband is happy, and it's awesome.
Good on them.
Yeah. And anyway, but like my dreams have changed. I dream about my ex more than anyone I've ever dreamed about. And it's interesting as my subconscious has processed my relationship with her. So actually last night I dreamt about her, and she came into my work. She said, I need to talk to you. And I said, is this going to affect my ability to work today? And she's like, yeah. And I said, I'm not. You can wait. And she walked away, and I went back to work. It was really interesting. So, I mean, usually the dreams are her destroying my home or her,
Right. So, going back to that darkest moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I identify with you on that darkest moment. In my podcast, I talked about how the silence was, to call it pure murder, that's not good enough. The silence was deafening and brutal.
Yeah.
There's not words. So you had that darkest moment. How was that a blessing to you?
It's interesting because before anything went down, before the affair, before anything, I used to pray to God, like, I want to know. I'm willing to pay whatever it takes to know. And so I think there's multiple ways I could have learned a lot of the lessons I learned, but one of the ways was to have an affair. I think there was an option of like, hey, we got to correct your marriage, or we've got to end your marriage, introduce this situation, and I chose one of the paths.
I had a marriage that was the craps, and I didn't say, look, this is not okay, and if it doesn't change, I'm out.
Right.
I didn't say that because I have no spine.
Right. And it's interesting, man. I was talking about this today. Like, it was just to you, right? When you're stressed and your options are here, it's hard to choose. But when you elevate your stress and these are your options down here, it gets really easy. So I've learned like who I am a whole lot more, and I'm way more comfortable telling people that doesn't work for me. I don't want that.
Right.
And I don't care how it makes you feel, because this is me. This is my space. And you want to do something with this, I'll let you know if it works for me, if it doesn't. And you can go do all your own stuff on your own and knock yourself out, and I hope you're happy. But when it comes to this,
Yeah. And when we own ourselves that way, when you're going, yeah, this is my world, my space, and I would love to make everybody in it happy, but I'm not going to sacrifice myself for nothing just because it is uncomfortable to not sacrifice.
Right.
We can create a better world for ourselves and people around us.
There's a lot of talk about that, like where we put your mask on first, right? And this isn't like selfish, like put your mask on and then take their oxygen mask, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, but take care of yourself, because if you can't give of yourself, what do you have to give? Like the "Let Your Light So Shine" or Marianne Williamson, our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate, it's that we're powerful beyond a measure, right?
Right.
So yeah, like learn who you are, learn what you're good at, and give.
Why was that darkest moment a benefit to you? I've asked you that question and you answered it, but I didn't register it.
I've come to know God.
Okay.
I've come to know myself, and like, we don't walk in the cool of the morning. That'd be nice. But like my understanding of heaven and what it takes to get there, that's been really clarified. The thing I'm still working on now is like, what is it going to take to create my life? Like living intent. So this is interesting because like this is probably like the thing I would want to accentuate the most is like, if you are not willing or capable of requesting and going after what you want, no one else is, and no one else will do it for you. And if you are not directing where your life goes, where will it go?
Yeah. So the quote that comes to mind is that men like rivers become crooked when they coast, something like that.
I need to find that quote. Sounds good. But yeah, like go after what you want, and work hard for it. Like, because that's the glory. Like one of the biggest struggles we have now is that everything's so easy. And you wouldn't think it'd be a struggle, but like you can get a dopamine hit, you get a serotonin hit by opening your phone, right? Your validation, you have people saying you're great. Do you need to have friends? Like, yeah, it's hard, but like the real glory comes that you put in the work, and then you get it. You go for the run, and then you get the endorphins.
Finally, yeah.
You serve the people, you get the money. You grow the garden, you eat the fruit. You're like,
what? How old are you?
44.
44. 44-year-old Jason gets a time machine.
Okay.
What kind of car is it?
Oh, it's a car?
Yeah, it's a time machine car.
Oh, man. Crying out loud.
Are you going to make this a DeLorean, or is it a Lambo, or I might choose my Jeep.
A Jeep would be nice. I want some, like, I want driving comfort. Man, I'm not a big car person. It's a Toyota Corolla.
All right, let's get you a Corolla. At least it wasn't a Prius.
Yeah, no, I'm worried about the batteries.
Yeah.
And impact on the environment.
Okay, so you're in your Corolla. You're going back to visit a younger version of yourself.
Dear younger me.
Yes. What age are you going to, and what are you going to tell that dude?
I just walk with him the whole way because he screws up so much. I don't know if there's one point I could interject any amount of wisdom that would have changed his course. Probably between 8 and 12. It's okay. Everybody struggles. Parents are doing the best they can. They love you so much, and you don't need to run from your pain.
Sounds like we could do a whole new podcast on you don't need to run from your pain. You had pain you wanted to run from when you were between 8 and 12 years old. That's something else I've learned doing these podcasts. I've interviewed some kids who were 20-something, and I'm like, you haven't lived life long enough to have any pain. Oh, they have pain.
Yeah. It's interesting, and I wish I had the source, but they did a stress study. And they took a little kid, they took their favorite stuffed animal away from him, and then it was like a 50-year-old dude whose best friend died, and their stress levels were the same. Like, it's really common for people to do comparisons. Like, you have no idea what my life is like. But the reality is they probably know and have felt similar to what you felt, even though the circumstances are different. I think some people like Goggins' books, finished one, listened to another, and it's interesting because, like, he was beat. You know, but his baseline was so much lower. Like, he can dig deeper than most people because he knows. Like, I've been welted and beat sick by my father. you know?
Yeah, that was
So-
You Can't Hurt Me, I believe
Can't
was the
Hurt
name of
Me.
it. Yeah.
Which I love because it's not about David Goggins saying, you can't hurt David Goggins. It's about every one of us saying, you can't hurt me. Like, I can do this. I can move on. I can progress. I can develop tools to push through the pain and get the thing I want. You know? I love that. But like, he understood how hard he could push himself physically, a little bit more than most of us, because we haven't been beaten. Not like that. And when you understand, I can get this low and keep going, kind of like what they do in the training for the military. You know, they take you to a low spot, so you know how low you can go.
And then you're starting.
And then, yeah.
And that's why I never did the military. Any parting words you want to throw at the guys that are listening to you?
The impact you have on the world around you is way more than you can realize. You are loved, and people need to feel your love. Like, we're children of God, and because of that, we are loved and we're important. So find out what you need to protect and your purpose and who you need to serve, and fill it, because you are so valuable. And the more you step into that place of power, the more powerful you'll be.
Thank you.